Colonel Phillips will introduce himself in a minute, another of our military fellows here. So hang on, we're going right around. Good.
My name is Amy Bartlett. I'm a Coast Guard veteran from 1995 to 2003. While in the Coast Guard, I was stationed on the Coast Guard Cutter Chase. For 3 years, we had 2 deployments to Alaska, 1 to Thailand, and 1 to the Philippines. Got out and was a pharmacy technician for about 10 years and realized my disability started to get my job and decided to go back to school. Finished my undergrad in public health at Temple University in Philadelphia last year. I'm halfway through my master's program at George Washington University, continuing in public health and health policy.
Good. Aaron?
Hi, my name is Robert Molina. I'm a graduate from Fordham University, 2018. I'm here in the Professional Hispanic Caucus Institute Fellowship, serving my first placement at the Department of Treasury.
Very good.
Hi, my name is Gretchen Klingler. I was 6 years active duty Air Force, stationed on at Public Field. I'm full-time at Ohio State. I'm studying anthropology and Arabic with minors in religion, gender, and sexuality studies and Middle Eastern studies. I'm also a Pat Tillman military scholar as well. And thank you all so much for having us.
Welcome, girl. You had it.
My name is Rebecca Patterson. I'm a Navy veteran. I served 6 years. I separated in 2011. I was in Georgia for most of my time, but I did do a 6-month deployment to the Persian Gulf. I'm currently a graduate student at the University of Maryland. I'm working on my Master of Public Health and Environmental Health Sciences, and what I hope to focus on is veteran health related to environmental exposures during military service.
Very good. Very good.
Good afternoon, sir. Captain Kevin Rivers, as Jason mentioned, active duty, still work at the Pentagon, Chief of Strategic Engagements for Dr. Roper, who's a service acquisition executive for the Air Force. I'm a Zoomy as well, so go Falcons under your West Point.
That's okay. You don't hold it against you. You're welcome to this building.
So my background is acquisition, program management, mostly in the space control realm, Office of Defensive Counterspace. So.
Very good. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Juan Borjas. So I'm a 2015 fellow with the first class, then a Born fellow, graduated my master's, and I'm currently transitioning to the master's degree space. I'm also a Marine veteran, Iraqi and space.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I always be better.
Good.
Hello, my name is Ty Brown, and I'm a 11-year Navy vet. I'm currently a graduate student at American University studying global security, and I'm an intern at Department of State with their Arms Control Bureau because I'm hoping to work in arms control after I graduate.
Very good. Good time.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Lloyd.
Another record. We have another record.
Different spelling.
I see that. I see that.
I served in the Army for 9 years, and then after I got out of the Army, I was a fellow with the VFW and SBA, the National Legislative Fellowship Program. This past year, I've also served as the 2017 Miss Veteran America First Runner-Up to raise awareness of homeless women veterans across the country. Last year, I also founded a nonprofit organization focusing specifically on women veterans to help them in transition. And I'm currently a doctoral student at Virginia University pursuing strategic leadership.
Excellent. Good.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Kirsten Bataccio. I was in the United States Marine Corps for 6 years, 2009, 2015. I was Air Wing first, then I went embassy duty, so I was at the embassies overseas for a little bit.
Which embassy?
In Sri Lanka, Uganda, and then Barbados.
All right.
Then I got out. I went to Manhattan College for undergrad. I just graduated there with my bachelor's in international studies and government in May. I just started for my grad school for master's in security studies, and like a month into that, and then I also started full-time work at the Terror Screening Center in Vienna as an analyst a month ago. So it's been exciting.
Welcome.
Afternoon, sir. My name is Rachel Cozy. I served the U.S. Navy for 6 years as a healthcare administrator specializing in medical logistics. Transitioned out last year and working as a consultant for Deloitte. I have a very diverse educational background, bachelor's in logistics from Penn State, a master's in science from the Citadel in exercise physiology, a PhD ABD in bioenergetics from East Carolina University, an MPH bioenergetics.
Energetics.
Yes,
Okay.
an MPH from Johns Hopkins, and I'm working on my executive MBA from Georgetown.
It's
I like to say I have a problem.
educated. I like being a student.
It's a good addiction to have. Good afternoon, gentlemen. David Anderson, United States Marine Corps enlisted 2000 to 2013, Iraq and Afghanistan. I was in Jason's first cohort in 2015. I'm now his Director of Alumni Relations for VGL. I currently work at the State Department I'm the Central African Republic Desk Officer as a Presidential Management Fellow, and I'll be transitioning over to Foreign Service at the end of October.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Eric Altamira. I spent 4 years on active duty with the U.S. Army. Currently, I'm a graduate student at Georgetown as well in the Security Studies program. I just finished up interning at DoD at OSD Policy, hoping to explore that space a little bit after graduation.
Very good. What part of the Army were you at?
I was an armor officer.
Armor.
Spent most of my time in the CAV.
Good. Good. Which cap?
8-1, striker out of
Okay.
Fort Lewis.
Who's good?
My name is Oleg Olenik, Air Force vet. Spent 11 years working as a medic first, supporting Global Strike Command and Air Mobility Command, and then transferred as a military interpreter and arms control inspector with DTRA, so Defense Threat Agency, also in Germany and like USA. And the last year I transitioned into Georgetown University under National Security Program as a scholar. Following that, I also, like Rachel, with Glitter now, also serving federal clients, but I'm pursuing careers in the base, like my own native friends. So.
Very good. Very
Thank you
good.
for
Oh,
having me.
so that's an interesting name. Where's your family from?
Originally I'm from Moldova, so
Moldova.
yeah, and it's education-wise, they always tell me my 5 languages are not enough. I need more technical skills, so I just started my second graduate degree at the George Washington in cybersecurity, so final.
All
Or
right.
some technical.
So Chisinau or where?
Yes, South of Chisinau. Yeah.
South.
Yeah, but I also have a Ukrainian background. I know you spent some time in
Yeah,
Ukraine. So,
What's the Ukraine background?
So my parents, so one side are from Ukraine, the
Yeah.
other side in Moldova, but obviously you grow up and you have
Right.
hearts.
Right. Where in Ukraine? Down in
Chernovsky.
Chernovsky. Super.
Yeah.
So is one of your languages Ukrainian?
Yes, I understand it, but I speak Russian,
Russian,
Moldavian,
yeah.
and a couple hours.
Romanian.
Romanian, yeah. I say Romanian.
Okay.
See, you know the flavor.
Wow. So I'm Lieutenant Colonel Rob Phillips. I got 20 years in active duty, 3 in the reserves before that. I started in the Army as an infantry officer, so sorry, armor. But, I transitioned to public affairs, so I've been doing public affairs for about 10 years now. And I've got 3 tours to Iraq, 1 to Afghanistan, and then I worked for NATO for a while, predominantly working Ukraine and the Baltics area, Turkey as well, so growth industry. And then I'm a USIP fellow for the next year before I go back out to the force.
Super, super. Well, great. This is a great group. Jason, thanks for bringing us all together. We appreciate it. Good. As I say, let me just give you a little bit of my background. You've seen some of the, just kind of the basics. But I was in military academy and went to, well, first to the 82nd down at Fort Bragg for 6 months. That's what they do to new lieutenants. So they send them to stateside, and then to the 101st in Vietnam for about 18 months. Then came back, having seen what helicopters could do in that theater, I went to flight school, first in Texas. First half was in Texas, and the second half Alabama. Great time, We spent a lot of time in flight school, especially out of Texas. There's a lot of time solo in these little teeny helicopters. And we just went out, and several of us were just back in Vietnam, and so doing frisky, and so we would get on our own frequencies and fly out across the Texas landscape and herd cattle and rabbits, and so we had a great time. And ended up in Germany. So I saw the kind of the Cold War and saw the Soviet army that we were looking for, preparing to defend against from Germany. Got out, went to graduate school, came down here, worked in Washington for a while, worked on the Senate staff, Senator Bill Bradley from New Jersey, basketball player, but excellent senator, and then was at NATO, worked at U.S. mission to NATO for about 5 years, and so I was in NATO, I was in Brussels when the Berlin Wall came down. And then 2 years later, when the Soviet Union disappeared, imploded. And so came back and worked at the State Department right across the street here in a little office that coordinated the assistance going into the former Soviet Union, trying to encourage them to move toward market economies and democratic forms of government. And we succeeded in some places like Moldova and Ukraine, when we failed in other places like Russia. But it was not for lack of trying on this thing. So about this time, so then many of you remember we went into Afghanistan. 9/11 happened with Afghanistan. I showed up in Kabul as a civilian in 2002. Was there for about a year. Came back here, worked in Afghanistan here in the State Department for a year, helping out at the National Security Council. And by this time, we had invaded Iraq. So I went to Baghdad for a year. Worked there for, again, helping coordinate the assistance going into Iraq and the reconstruction work that we were doing at that time. Came back, and about this, so this was now in 2005, we had these big programs on the ground, and in Afghanistan, and actually in Jerusalem, in Israel-Palestine. So this fit with what I was interested in doing, and so came here, 2009, 2011. 2011, Arab Spring bloomed, and the State Department folks called me up and asked me to come back over there. So I went back to the State Department, worked there for 2 years during the Arab Spring time, then came back here in 2013 and have been here ever since. So we've been with these guys, their predecessors. As I say, we do work, Institute Peace does work around the world. We've got a big office in Kabul, we have a big office, we have people in Afghanistan, in Iraq, Tunisia, we have people in Nigeria, in Burma, Myanmar, where we look for ways to solve disputes, look for ways to resolve conflicts without violence. So the organizations that you all come from, organizations you guys are still working for, solve disputes with violence. And we're looking for solving disputes without violence. And so this is negotiation and dialogue, kind of identifying the roots of conflict is what we do here in an attempt to kind of prevent it. It's hard. Nonetheless, that's what we're doing. So I've come from a military background and have come to Institute Peace. I've seen fighting and I've seen conflict, and I can say that I'm committed to this kind of work. I was also, the State Department, of course, does some very similar kinds of things. And they're also looking, so I'm very pleased that you all are doing things, both in education and in your careers, that will use the experience, the leadership, the training, the background that you've got in the military for other kinds of activities. And Institute Peace is one way to do that. There are a lot of others that we're looking at. And with that, let me stop, Jason, and turn over to you, and turn over to you all. And I'd love to just answer questions.